pompous, nothing very...
After conceding that defeat?
After the President Masisi concedes defeat, and we do not see a lot of time wasted in trying to strengthen gaps and mistakes through an electoral process. And I therefore believe that for us as a country, Kenya, these are some of the lessons that we can be able to pick, because if you look at Botswana and Kenya, quite incomparable in many indicators, from our population to our economy, even our political growth, our constitutionalism. We have very many things that many countries in Africa, now even as we aspire to go to the Africa Union Commission, we should be setting that pace, but we still see quote-unquote smaller countries setting the pace for us, and that smaller countries is in quotes, so that I am not served by the Botswana High Commissioner to say that why are you calling us small, but I'm just looking at different indicators. And so really it is important that we look at what we are doing right and to continue to do it rightly, and what we are not doing right, to look at mechanisms through which we can be able to strengthen. But indeed, as you said, from what Mheshimiwa has given as his highlight, it still baffles us, that rather baffles me, that 14 years down the line, and not more than 3 months ago, we celebrated 14 years of the newborn child, the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And if you look at testing the Constitution, there is a good reason why, for instance, the drafters of the Constitution put in articles of impeachment, and that Kenyans thought that it was right for us to be able to consider it wise also to impeach leaders who have undergone extramural engagements and exercise extravious powers, and that in articles 146, 147, 148, 149, 150, the President of the Republic can actually be impeached, and in fact even his deputy. And having said the President, is not to imagine that that President William Ruto could be impeached, but yes, it is a good test that now even for President William Ruto, wherever he is seated, he should be very careful that Kenyans can choose to ask any of the elected representatives to, including even Mheshimiwa Orero here, to draft a motion of an impeachment, and that now that it has been tested, it is a possibility that can happen. But looking at very many different dynamics, one thing that really troubles me is, for instance, public participation. That one, Victor, we do not have a law, a national law that governs public participation. Of course, we have a policy that was drafted in 2016, and all county governments have a Public Participation Act. But you look at the manner in which at the national level, and even at the county level, public participation is not given that very strong willed desire to give the citizens a voice. And so at the level of impeachment of the Deputy President, we saw the citizens being asked to make comments and being asked to share their views. And so you ask yourself, at what point do we begin to think through strengthening public participation on such important concerns? And in the manner in which we saw the conversations both at the National Assembly and even at the Senate, I was left wondering, does public participation in this country really matter? And do the political class consider public participation one of those good governance indicators that therefore should be used as a very strong basis for certain decisions that need to be made? And I think that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest score, we really are almost at a 3 or a 2. Because we have not done very well to spur public participation.
When we look at even the court ruled last week, was it about the housing levy, that there's no law guiding the public participation per se. I think that's how government had to weigh that case. But Speaker, let me ask you this, in as far as this is concerned, your key highlight, what has really stood out for you, generally speaking? They've talked their mind, and what stood out for them? What has been key highlights so far?
Thank you very much, Victor, and honorable colleagues who have joined me this morning. I think I want to share the key highlights which Honorable Orero shared, because being a politician, of course, all of us who are concerned with what was happening on the removal of the Deputy President. And we saw so many things happening, right from when the motion was moved with the MP for Kibwezi West, Honorable Mange Motuse, at the National Assembly, and how it was voted upon, how it went to the Senate, and whatever happened there. You remember, of course, after the motion was moved, as Mr. Kevin Osido has said, there was this element of public participation.
Yeah.
Remember, somebody went to court and the court directed that it must be done in all constituencies. Then the National Assembly clerk did another advert where now people were told to go and submit the memoranda in all the offices of the of MPs. So I think, as Mr. Osido has said, there needs to be proper laws on how these matters should be handled. And the impeachment of the Deputy President has actually tried to create a precedence on how these matters are done. Because I think this is the first time that our country is impeaching a president or a deputy president. Because there's not even a president, deputy president. It never happens because 145. No, the process to remove a president is also applied in removing a deputy president. Yeah. So whatever removing the deputy president, the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, can be the same process to be followed in impeaching a president.
Just a copy paste.
Yeah, just a copy paste. Actually, it's supposed to be a copy paste. So I think it was very interesting situation in our country, and I think we have created precedents all over the world. Yeah, because I think impeaching successfully a deputy president or a president is not that easy. Yeah. So I think I can say that we saw how efficient the government was. Yes. when we think about the gazette notices. Yeah. And as in the county, when you want to gazette something, it takes even a week or even 2 weeks. Yeah. If you want to gazette something, you put it in the Kenya Gazette. But within hours, we saw 4 gazette notices. So I think our government should be as efficient as it was in the impeachment of the deputy president.
You should know people.
in for a holiday.
Yes.
Yes.
So, a minister was gazetted to act in the interior. Yeah, the same minister gazetted a public holiday. Yeah, a committee was formed. Yeah, it was very interesting. So I think I want to challenge the Kenya Gazette to be such efficient when we ask in the counties also take applications for gazette notices, because sometimes we struggle. We have to send our people to camp there for 2-3 days.
Allow me to be fair to the government. He tweeted to Nairobi the distance. There's a very big, and everything was happening. I don't know whether it was between where to the Kenya Gazette notice printer.
Yes.
There's an issue of distance, if you know what I'm saying.
And accuracy.
Mutachi is the chairman of Ford Kenya Transoya, fully in government. Your boss is number 3 in line. You must be a happy man.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Okay.
I'm a happy man anyway.
Go ahead.
And you remember last time when I was here, I told you this one, and you said no.
Yeah.
Well, let us see, but that is what came up. That is what came up. And you know, my friend Victor, I like to be in this country. Anytime I get a travel, like outside of more than 10 days, I miss Kenya. Because there are so many episodes, Mheshimiwa. So many episodes. You might wake up today, hey, this one has gone off. This one is coming up. Me, I'm appointed. Like now we can be here, and then you see gazette notice. The following day, I'm being grilled by the parliament, the parliament that I'm the next minister of internal affairs. Who doesn't? Now this guy was just here like this, and now he's the minister. How comes? You know, there are so many episodes, my friend, and that is why I told you last time the episode of DP. It was a good scenario.
Right.
It was a challenge to this country because we were testing our constitution, and for the first time since it's a new constitution. The way Mheshimiwa Wakila said, since this new constitution, we have never seen the good test of this constitution. And actually the parliament set a base, the Senate set a base. We've been seeing the governors coming to the Senate.
Yeah.
They put up the case, the MCS put up the case, and finally the governor continues staying, enjoying the seat.
Yeah.
But now, with this one now, because if they can do it to the vice president, deputy president, then we don't say when the governor comes to the Senate and then continue enjoying the same privileges with a big case. No. We want it to be applied the same way. They did it to the deputy president, let it go down even to the rogue governors. Because we have rogue governors, my friend. For a few years, somebody has accumulated hundreds of millions in governors. Yes, few
But
months.
what was so unique about this gentleman? I want to ask you, because I want to take a break quickly. But Mheshimiwa, what was so unique about this? He's talked about, of course, we've seen how many governors have appeared before the Senate, before Parliament, and etc. Some of them are going to court. A clear example is the case of Governor Wambora, who served 10 years. Court injunction after court injunction, one after the other. We also have Governor Kawira Mwangaza, also court injunction. But why was this not applied to the Deputy President? I mean...
I think it will be the height of political naivety to compare the two cases. They are at different spheres in terms of political nature. The position of the Deputy President is such a crucial position because it is tied to the presidency. And if it affects the function and functionalities of the president, then it has to be dealt with. When you listen to the speech of the president, he said now, the last 2 years, he was not able to perform.
I'll come back to you. I think there's kuna panya imepita hapo katikati. Mekanyaga wire. Ya microphone yako. I'll get back to you. Sorry for that. But let me come back to you, Kevin Osido. When you look at from what he was saying, allow me to pick his mind a bit. The aspect of court injunctions, and I will also come back to later on that, because there's a court case which is still active at the Court of Appeal about the deputy president, the ex-deputy president. I think that is former Rigathi Gachagua, how it's inconsequential or whatever it will be. But look at it this way. We look at a scenario where that good book is being tested. Mwananchi is looking at how the court is handling the matter, the executive is handling the matter, and even the legislature is handling the matter. But now, Wanjiku is waiting for the feedback. What did you think that Wanjiku played in the role of impeaching the deputy president?
You see, Victor, the role of Wanjiku, Otieno, Kwamboka and others in this particular process, let me say, is very limited, and is only limited up to the point at which the public participation process is being done.
Yes.
And at the public participation, you expect that people will come out to speak out their views. People will write petitions, memoranda, and that is purely where it ends.
Yes.
Because if you look at the process of impeachment of a president or a deputy president, it really has got to do with just one place, that is the legislature. And that is the National Assembly and the Senate. And really the focus is right at the National Assembly, because that is where the motion is moved after having been drafted. That is where the vote on impeachment is carried, because really at the Senate, there is no vote. They only vote to either approve or disapprove. And that is partly what we have seen happening with most governors. So at the point at which we are talking about the common citizen, the person who woke up early in the morning to vote or not to vote for the deputy president, at the point of this impeachment, your powers, your imagination is very limited. In fact, you can say so many things that will not even carry the day at the National Assembly. And the second to that is that the Constitution of Kenya envisions that in Article 50, that there would be mechanisms to exercise fair hearing. And I think that is also one of those places for the common citizen, as you call him or her, Wanjiku, because now you can begin to ask yourself, how important is it for somebody who says that I have fallen ill, I'm not able to appear before the Senate, and therefore I am asking for more time to go and I seek medical attention, and then I can come back. And I'm sure that in many platforms where I either spoke or attended, people were asking, but how cruel are these senators that a gentleman is saying, I am sick, and the lawyers and Mheshimiwa Orero spoke about senior counsel Paul Mwite, and he's there and he's being asked, so where is he? And he's saying, I can't trace my client.
I don't know.
So to the citizen, you could be asking yourself, how about if it were you? And I agree with Mheshimiwa that the threshold of impeachment of a deputy president and that of a governor or any other person are totally different, but they are only different politically speaking.
Okay.
But when it comes to legal threshold and constitutional mechanisms to strengthen or to uphold the constitution, Article 50 applies to everyone, whether you are a president, a deputy president, or even a governor or an MCA, but particularly because it's the governor and the president and his or her deputy who can be impeached, then the same article applies at that level. But then many lessons that we can be able to learn, especially where the voice of the citizen is required.
Can we take a break?
Sure.
Let's take a break and we come back. We still have much more to talk about, including what about the three arms of government? How did they work? You know, they've talked about the efficiency. That is the speaker saying that there's a lot of efficiency in government. I don't know how that efficient was. And the history of the follow between the president and their deputies since 1963 to date. And by the way, what's next for this country? We have got 2 PhD holders leading us. We are a happy lot. All right, let's take a round. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
Is leadership about PhD?
All right, welcome back. So let me take you through the front page of the local dailies in 1 minute, starting with the front page of the Star newspaper. Cash-strapped farms milking taxpayers dry. That is what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. Cash-strapped farms milking taxpayers dry. At least 8 parastatals have been declared insolvent by the Auditor General. Not here. We are not there. Yes, at least 8 parastatals have been declared insolvent by the Auditor General. And then on the front page again we have got, that is the President William Ruto and Governor Sakaja yesterday at a church function where the President urged leaders to put politics in the back burner and now serve the people. Very quickly, on the front page of the Standard newspaper, insecurity storm. That is what's on the front page, insecurity storm. Kenya's human rights record faces intense security as both citizens and international allies sound alarms over a surge in abductions and forced disappearances and killings. The West is now pressuring Kenya to uphold democratic principles and protect civil liberties amidst mounting tension and calls for accountability from rights groups and diplomats alike. What about the front page of the Daily Nation? Experts query Ruto's tax plan. That is what is here. Experts now query Ruto's tax plan. It's about the economy, where they say that this fiscal year's ordinary revenue target of 2.6 trillion shillings is a long shot. But then now, it's a case of warning where slapping Kenyans with more taxes and levies will not lead to additional revenues. And Parliament's economic think tank has told the government that which has revived some unpopular taxes withdrawn after public protest in June. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Office has cautioned the state against ambitious targets backed by introduction of new taxes and increase of others, even as Treasury issues proposals to roll out a set of new levies which had been rejected under the finance bill. That is what is here. How Ruto camp plots to win back hostile Central. We'll be taking that one later on in the program. Okay, so let me come back to you, Speaker. Let's delve deeper into this issue of testing the Constitution. Yes. Starting with you as an active advocate of the High Court.
Yes.
From your point of view, yes, but Wanjiku would really want to understand how this Constitution was tested. I want my kinsmen in Homa Bay County to understand how it was tested in a more simplistic way, politically and legally so.
Thank you very much, Victor. I think as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, one of the crucial documents we are usually given when we join the law school is the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And actually, when I joined law school, I was given both the previous Constitution and the current Constitutions.
The Old and the New Testament.
Because I joined the university in 2010. So now that's when we are promulgating the new Constitution. So I had both of them. So this Constitution actually is a very critical document because if you read Article 1 on sovereignty, the people of Kenya are supreme actually all the powers belong to the people of Kenya.
Yes.
And this power now is delegated to the elected representatives who are the leaders. If you look at what transpired in the removal of the deputy president, how you are elected and how you are removed is very key. The question is who elected you and who is removing you. The deputy president and the president, or the governor and the deputy governor for county matters, are elected by the people. But in this case, their removal, if you read Article 144 and 145 on the removal of the president, their removal is by the members of parliament. Article 150 on the removal of the deputy president, the removal again is by members of parliament. If you read Article 181 on the removal of a governor, or a deputy governor, it is by the MCAs. And you have seen that there have been several impeachment motions against governors. That's why I'm saying that what happened on the removal of the deputy president is actually a very critical precedence on what will now happen in other counties and also in the national government affairs. And I can say that this issue of public participation...
I just wanted to echo what he's saying. Because you are talking about Wanjiku.
Yes.
The people of Kenya are supreme, and their supremacy can be exercised directly or through delegation.
Yes.
So when it is exercised directly, that is when Wanjiku now votes directly. But they can decide to delegate this to their representatives. And when you go to that constitution now, it is their representative that will exercise this mandate on their behalf. That is why we are talking of Article 50 of removal of the presidency or the vice presidency from 44 to 50, and also the removal of the governors. So in this case, when you want to talk about Wanjiku, apart from now public participation, their thoughts can only be exercised by their representatives. I think that is what is trying to...
Which Victor, before Bwana Speaker comes in, in my view is limiting that sovereignty of the people. Because why should I vote for a deputy president and a president on one ballot, and then they assume office, but when they are being removed, I feature nowhere? So what is my role? And that I can only go into a hall where too much noise is being made, and in fact only a few people who are known to MPs and their political leaders get the microphone. And it is presumably that when they say, for example, that okay, patia Kevin Osido microphone, they already imagine that they know what I want to say. But at the point of the ballot, it is a secret ballot, and that the power I have is to vote for them. But I think Mheshimiwa is saying that how come now when it points to the level of removal or impeachment, that power to give them office is now limited to a few people who, in fact, a number of times are not even aware about what is being impeached on, what is being discussed, what the grounds are, and that they're only seated there waiting to say yes or no. And I think that we therefore need to, moving forward, strengthen that impeachment process, so that the way the High Court judged, or rather advised, that public participation goes further into the constituencies, those processes need to give the members of those representatives of the people the opportunity to explain, because this motion has been drafted and mooted at the National Assembly.
Yes.
So the parliamentarian the capacity of the MP should be built to come back to me where I voted to explain, this person I voted for as a deputy president, why do you want to remove him or her? Okay, we want to remove him because there are 11 allegations. Number 1 says this. Number 2 says this. But you see, what we saw happening is that a number of people only picked one allegation, that this guy incited people and he was only talking about Mulima. But if you look at the other issues, like corruption is a serious issue in this country. And almost all politicians in this country, with the benefit of very few of them in terms of integrity, are corrupt.
Including him.
No.
He's safe.
But
You can never make a public pronouncement without adducing the evidence.
You are in that group of a few.
I didn't mention any group of a few.
Yeah, it's very dangerous to make such an allegation because we can institute legal proceedings.
Your integrity is taken care of.
But what I want to say, I think, is what is insinuating is covered within the Constitution. This public participation is an alien phenomenon within our Constitution. It is so alien that our country has not adapted to the public participation. And when we look at the drafters of the Constitution, they abhorred a space of governance. That is why they gave time limits, that when a vacancy or when there is an impeachment, within 14 days, the president has the authority to appoint a deputy president. And after the impeachment, the National Assembly the Speaker has only 2 days to forward to the Senate. And during this time, again, we are given just 60 days during that we can have all these processes to be done. So the drafters of the Constitution look at the time frame. And as much as you'd want to blame the National Assembly, we are working within the process and the confines of the Constitution.
But
within 14 days.
We didn't even clock 60 days.
But you know the Constitution says within. Within can be even half a day, depending on the state or
within this duration.
Or 1 hour.
Or 1 hour.
Yeah. Okay. But you know, the Constitution is okay. To me, I support you, Mheshimiwa, because this Constitution, the drafters were very keen. They could not give leeway for the president, like during Moi's time. You remember, he stayed almost 16 months without vice president. Now, this constitution, the drafters of this constitution, they gave a time frame where the Speaker of the National Assembly must play within that time, and where the Senate must play, and also the president must play up to 70 days. So they gave you that 60 days.
Yes.
They gave you that good time for you to play within. If there is anything wrong, something coming up like court cases, you saw last time the former DP filed almost 28 petitions in the court.
Yeah.
Can you roll out all those 28 days within 60 days in a normal circumstance? No. So the drafters, to me, they're okay. Within this time, we should be finishing this because we are looking to do some other things.
Yeah.
So, me, I agree. And the power is vested to Mwananchi. Mwananchi can generate this motion to impeach the president, to impeach anybody.
No.
Yes?
He's only a member of the National Assembly.
No. The Mwananchi can collect signatures in the Constitution.
When we look at our Constitution, they have a place where the citizens within a constituency can start a process. It is called recalling.
But not for the president.
Not for the president can only be impeached by the members of parliament through a substantive motion that is placed in the August House. But for the MP, we have clauses where a third of the total voters within a constituency. But the emphasis is that it must be spread out so that in all the wards that almost evenly spread out so that we can rule out the element of vendetta and inclination on your opponents. But the Constitution is very clear that the members of the public have this supreme authority over their representatives, that in case that they don't perform according to their what they require,
they can
be recalled.
Yes,
but I can also finish my thoughts, and thank you, colleagues, for adding voice to my comments. My challenge to the members of National Assembly and Honorable Orero is here, is that please come up with a public participation law. Because, for example, Victor, if we went to Kibra constituency to collect views, because the clerk of the National Assembly requested the members of the public to write memorandums through their offices of the MPs. What are the results of those public participation? We did not see a report of the so-called public participation. So I think these things were done for formality. And we normally see the same things in the counties, for example, where members of the public are supposed to give their views. Currently in Kitui County now, we are doing public participation on the Kitui County Finance Bill. And it is very interesting that we need to collect the views of the public and table a report to the House and say we are making this decision based on this and these views of the people.
Do you make decisions as a speaker based on the report from the public participation process?
Once we do public participation, and I'm sure it happens also in the National Assembly, the committee or the team which is looking at that particular bill should consider, actually whatever decision they make, they have to consider the views of the people. But the problem is that there is no strict law governing or guiding on how the views of the people will be considered. Because matters impeachment are very critical matters. Article 1, Article 2. Even if people are delegating their powers to their elected representatives, there needs to be a framework on how this power is delegated. But you see, I think as leaders, when we assume offices, we don't want to give the people the leeway or the chance to delegate their powers to us. And secondly, Victor, our constitution has been tested. If you look at Article 146, if a president is impeached, we know for sure that the deputy president will ascend to office immediately, and finish the term. If a deputy president is impeached, there's no clear framework on what happens. What happened, for example,
after... No, it is said the president will appoint.
That is true, will appoint, but I'm trying to ask a question about... Nominate. But you see, in this case, Victor and the colleagues, there is a matter pending in court.
Okay.
What happens if the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, wins the case? If he goes all the way to Supreme Court and wins the case, and remember, Professor Kithure Kindiki is not acting as deputy president, he was sworn in. He ascended to the office of the deputy president. He's not acting. So what happens if the Gachagua wins the case? So the constitution is being tested here.
That's why
that's an interesting way of looking at it.
That is why I say that this time frame guides us so much, and it is in the constitution. It guides us.
The 60 days.
The 60 days. So the petition that the former deputy president filed in the court of law, and you saw so many petitions, more than 28, within a span of 2 weeks. Just within a span of 2 weeks. Can we beat the deadline as per the constitution? No. That is why I support, even if they rushed everything. So Mheshimiwa was saying it was done overnight, gazettement, this one today, tomorrow, like that. It was just okay because we wanted to beat, the government wanted, not me, the government wanted to beat the deadline.
Which deadline?
The 60 days. And also, you know that gap, Victor, of deputy president is very vital in this country. In case of anything, we will start moving around and we don't have the plan. We'll be battling with so many cases in the court. Mia was appointed, Mia was, dismissed by the Senate. Now, who is the deputy president? Who is supposed to be there? You see that scenario. At that particular time, we were in a critical position.
Yes.
So my friend, even if you say that it was rushed, it's very fast. And I think it was a test. And that's why I told you it's good to be in Kenya to see these episodes moving on. It's a challenge.
The challenge, speaking from that challenge, is that we are using the law to cure political problems. Because if we were to follow this constitution, in my view, there was no rush.
We'd still be waiting.
Yes, we would still be waiting. In fact, we needed to have waited. The only challenge is that, and based on how the president spoke during the swearing in of His Excellency the Deputy President, I saw many things. And the president sounded a very lonely man, standing up there trying to figure out things. And the constitution says that the Deputy President is a principal assistant. So he therefore missed some assistance from his deputy, which I think is the only issue. And that is a political process, because the law says that when you're running for office, you basically present a running mate, and then you are voted together. At the point at which you agree on who becomes your running mate is a very, very critical issue. It's like a marriage. Of course, marriage.
You saw, although immediately the deputy president was sworn in, the president started working. You saw he signed the sugar bill, which was just long overdue. He signed into law.
And that is not to say,
that
Victor,
means that the deputy president now has started working. This one was impediment to this enactment of this sugar bill. So you can see now things are,
Victor,
and I know Mheshimiwa Speaker, maybe next week you'll be seeing money rolling down. Maybe the previous was a stumbling block in this.
I want to disagree with the Honorable Wafula. You know, that is politics. But in reality, even when you look at the Constitution, there is no way a deputy president or even a deputy governor can interfere with the work of the president.
And in fact,
that is only politics.
Remember that the public participation for the sugar bill that the president signed was done when Mheshimiwa Deputy President was Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
So how come he stopped the assent, but he was unable to stop the public participation, the debate at the Senate, and all these processes? So I think, in my view, as I was saying earlier on...
To me, I think maybe the DP wanted the enactment of sugar law to be concurrent with the coffee and tea.
Okay.
Yes. But now, and now you see, there is a challenge to the government. You know, all these things is stopped at financing. It stops at financing. Now I think the president, what he has done is he has started with the sugar bill first. Later on, he'll come to coffee and then tea.
And I still go back to the fact that the former deputy president did not stop those processes. What we need to look at, Victor, is the nexus between constitutionalism, the law, and politics. What we see happening, what we saw happening, in my view, was political. And as I was saying earlier on, we should have waited, because the Constitution in Article 49 all the way to 50, in fact, 50 has mechanisms for fair hearing. We have issues of fair administrative justice. You know, we didn't see that at the point of impeachment of Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua. A lot of this was political, and having the desire that we have provisions in the Constitution, so we twist them to feed into our political interests. And in fact, moving forward, even to the level of the Senate, the Supreme Court, I was quite perplexed and perturbed that, for instance, the Chief Justice appeared at the inauguration ceremony of the Deputy President. In my view, I would have advised that she needed to exercise restraint, because there is anticipation that this matter will actually lead, or rather proceed, to the Supreme Court. And to the handlers of Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, already you see senses in which winning this case is very, very limited. The only aspects that can probably provide positive, progressive aspects for Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua is, for example, the court might decide to guarantee damages that is paid.
To me, a law.
What if,
because is paid for certain excesses?
To me, a law, Martha Koome played a wise role.
That is Chief Justice.
You know, when the matter came to her to appoint a 3-judge bench, and in the background, he's appointed somebody from his village. He restrained and gave Mwilu to appoint. It became a topic of contentious in the court of law.
Yeah, during the preliminaries.
Yes, in the court of law. It took time to ventilate that. But finally, the ruling was the deputy chief justice was properly guided by law to appoint the bench. Now, for her to come in, it was just, my friend, it's just okay, because she is the chief justice.
It's not just okay. Remember, we are setting precedents,
the law actually provides
undertaking jurisprudence of this country. But
the law actually provides that in the absence of the chief justice, the deputy could actually work.
But not on that particular issue, Victor. Because if you look at
which
powers,
issue, swearing in or?
No. Recusal and, of course, appointment of judges is the sole responsibility of the Chief Justice, as per
I think
the law.
We are getting out of... You see, there was a judgment on that. He's trying to resurrect a dead case which had been buried, and a judgment pronounced in the High Court. So I don't know whether you are appealing on that judgment to the Kenyans.
We are growing the Constitution.
You see these lawyers.
Yes.
They are neither right nor wrong, depending on how they bring their arguments. And when he's saying that it was not right. The panel was not properly constituted. Yet, this case was argued by the opposite lawyers for former DP and also for the Senate. And a judgment was delivered that it was properly constituted.
Yeah.
So that is why we are saying it is a case that he cannot resurrect
That
unless he goes to appeal.
That judgment was
That is a
appealed.
dead case. That is a dead case.
Yeah, so
It's a matter under appeal, actually.
so
Yes.
we have a precedent now, because without that judgment, then we would not be having a deputy president currently.
But the 60 days would still be alive.
Would still be rolling.
It could be rolling.
You know, Mheshimiwa here and Honorable Wafula, no, we know they are he's in Kenya Kwanza, he's in ODM.
No. Here we are just arguing our cases.
Okay. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying, Victor, is,
We are all
you know,
lawyers
when
in our own
something,
aspects right
when
today.
you're on the winning side,
Yes.
don't laugh too much on the person who has lost, because the same case can apply to you. Because you see, and allow me to speak like a lawyer here.
But here, my friend,
just-
nobody has lost.
Just
All of
a
us, we
minute.
have just
Yes.
won. We are just nobody has
execute.
lost.
I want to
Execute
speak
your
like
case.
I just posed a challenge and a question. What will happen if Rigathi Gachagua wins the case against his impeachment? What will happen? Remember, Professor Kithure Kindiki has assumed office, not acting capacity. He has assumed office.
Substantive.
Yeah.
So what would
Substantively.
what
will
would
happen? Yes.
Let me take it back to you as a lawyer. So
Yes.
what would happen in this case?
Yes.
No, in this
I
case,
think
that one is passed by event.
No.
And anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we are there. We are also waiting.
Let me answer for myself. Since I am here, I can Honorable Wafula, don't answer for me. I can answer for myself.
Okay.
You know.
What I want to take a break because
Yes.
that's a very good question. So
Yes.
what would happen in that case?
Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting.
It will not
would be in a
change
very
anything
interesting
anyway.
scenario. If that
Nothing,
case
actually, nothing will happen. The much that
Nothing.
can happen is that the court can order that Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua is
Okay.
paid damages, and we have seen similar kind of occurrences. Because remember that, one, this process
All
is
right.
political, but two, you have a substantively sworn-in
Yes.
deputy
Thank you.
president.
Let's take a break on that drop. Let's take a break, a quick one. And when we come back, as you can see, our tag is the start of a new era. So let's take a look at what really is going to happen moving forward. Of course, they started working over the weekend. They had a sitting in State House and they deliberated a few things, the teacher service, the NAT members and all that. So what is ahead of us as a country? I want to pick your minds through that. And generally, what is the general perception of Murima? Let's not forget about that. He really fought for Murima. Okay, more after this. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. So let's move forward. Now, what about the next step? So we have the deputy president who is now in office, but there's a question where Speaker Kevin Katesia asked, so what happens if former deputy president wins that case? What happens? I'll come back to later on so that you can also ponder about that as a viewer. But then now, the question of moving forward. I remember when the president took to the podium on Friday, he said that there's so many things that he missed in the last 2 years. Mheshimiwa Orero, you are there. We all watched that there are certain things that he missed in the last 2 years. Perhaps the issues to do with the legislation, issues to do with the negotiations, issues to do with running the day-to-day events of the government, representation, and taking care of the president's diary. Perhaps some of the things that he missed. But let's leave alone that one. So what is the way forward? We have got two gentlemen who are now in office, and perhaps the president is now okay with his deputy. This is a question to all of you. Let me start with you, Wafula. What do you think is up next as we move forward?
I think now the country will head to the right direction, because now these two gentlemen, I think they've come a long way together. They know each other. They trust one another. You know, the deputy president was the wakili for the president at The Hague, and from behind, you don't know. So I think now they rhyme, And we expect them at least to deliver this country and the economy of this country to another level. To me, let us give them some time. And I hope all what we are looking for to be done, soon it will be okay. With the Deputy President and the President now working together.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, is there anything to do with friendship and trust in politics?
Nothing like that. Politics, we don't have permanent friends and permanent enemies.
So you're negating what he said?
We have a common interest. And I don't think that what he's saying that from now on things will be okay. We need to really look at the manifesto of this Kenya Kwanza government. What do they promise the people of this country? Are they delivering, irrespective of the kind of vice president that they had? But what we are saying is that it is them who chose their deputy president. And even the current deputy president, because we have no friendship in leadership. We have only common goals. We expect that the deputy president is going to carry out his functions as expected by Kenyans. When I look at the functions of the deputy president, that he must coordinate the ministries, he must look at the donors and see. He must coordinate between the county government. He must chair the committees of the ministers.
IBEC.
So it is not a bed of roses. And as Kenyans like me, I am in ODM. We are going to put Kindiki to task to see really whether he has come to fulfill the promises that the Kenya Kwanza made for Kenyans.
Because now he's in that
position. We are not saying that he's there because of the friend to the president. As Kenyans, we expect delivery of services to the people of Kenya. That is what Kenyans want. And there is no excuse. I don't think that the Kenya Kwanza government should give excuses to Kenyans now. If now the president has his deputy, as he said during the inauguration, we expect that the next 3 years we need to have a change, especially on economic matters. We need to have a change in other sectors, the education sector, and all that pertains to the interests of Kenyans. So as we sit here, we are expecting that Kindiki himself, the Professor Kindiki, comes and start working for Kenyans, not for himself, not for Mrima. Not for Mrima. As you know, Mrima was cut. We expect that he brings a national unity within this country. We expect that he leaves those aspects of the former deputy president that made this country ungovernable. We expect that Kenya Kwanza puts their house in order so that Kenyans can get good service.
Very fast. From the way Mheshimiwa is speaking, it's like work is cut out for deputy president. It's not even the president right now, because it's like the entire floodlight is on Kindiki, not even the president, Kindiki. Because it's like you want to taking Rigathi Gachagua and put it here. And from the way he's saying, as ODM, as Kenyans, all people want right now is service delivery. From what President said yesterday, all we want to do is now focus and move forward. Let me get your point. What's next? It's the beginning of a new era.
Indeed it is, and I think that Kenyans are expecting too much from Mheshimiwa Kithure Kindiki.
Yeah.
And I say this because just to backtrack a bit on what we saw happening with the former deputy president. Remember that the president issued an executive order which actually allocated roles and responsibilities to the former deputy president. And in the allegations that were meted at him, both at the National Assembly and also at the Senate, we did not see a very gruesome conversation around that executive order. Nobody said you failed to do your work.
Yes.
Yeah, because you see, the executive order was very, very clear. So based on what Professor Kithure Kindiki needs to do, probably the president will sustain that executive order, or we will follow through, like Mheshimiwa Orero is saying, because indeed those are some of the aspects of the Constitution which basically talks about principal assistant. So the president is the person to decide what he needs to be assisted on, other than on IBEC, which we did not see a lot of engagements between the national, the county governments and also with the national government, particularly because the deputy president is the chair of the Interbudget Economic Committee that brings together the county governments and also the national government, and on very clear issues. One is on the budget and execution of responsibilities. And Victor, remember also that even as we talk about the deputy president, we have seen a very clear precedence and history of Kenya Kwanza government not very excited around Schedule 4 functions of fully devolving certain roles and responsibilities to the counties, and because those are county functions, and we have seen almost a number of these functions being taken to court, from universal health care to affordable housing to so many of them. And I don't think that it really needed to take the former deputy president for us to see the government, because it is the president who is the bearer of this vision. He's the one who came to the people and said, as your president, this is what we are going to do. So we are hoping to see how the president and his deputy will, of course, swallow their prides from both sides and begin to exercise that ultimate responsibility of service delivery, because that is what Kenyans are asking for. And I know that sometimes, especially because of the kind of atmosphere and the context that we are, of course, operating in right now, what I am quite hopeful over is a leadership that is approachable. Because you see, for example, based on what we saw Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua going through, maybe even at the point of governors, they were scared. And when you come from the Lake region and there's a gentleman who keeps talking about Murima, probably a governor goes to the office of the deputy president and you are kept waiting for 8 hours, to see a deputy president to discuss your issues of IBEC and to follow up, or the Council of Governors. And we saw a lot of, concerns around responsibilities of counties and the mechanisms of how the chair of IBEC is now supposed to engage. So I am foreseeing a scenario where Professor Kithure Kindiki provides a very approachable leadership to the counties, a person who is available to engage, and even for donor coordination, because as Mheshimiwa Orero said, and I agree with him, many donors, a number of donors also engage with counties, and you can imagine where, of course, I saw the U.S. president at the swearing-in ceremony, and she was saying that, we were invited last night, and we made time, and we have come, and you can imagine how busy.
U.S. Vice President?
Ambassador.
I meant the U.S. Ambassador. Meg Whitman, and she was saying that we were invited last evening and we came, and you could see that elated spirit in her, and you can imagine now for so many other ambassadors and high commissioners who want to engage with counties, and that particularly in terms of intergovernmental relations, it is the deputy president that is supposed to take leadership and provide all that. So I am looking for a scenario where Professor Kithure Kindiki, with his professorship, comes together and begins to provide that safe platform, that very safe space where now even citizens can now begin to engage with the substantive office of the deputy president, and particularly on where their interests are covered for.
Well put. Thank you for that. But when you look at it in this way, Speaker, the professor, a good professor of law, and of course, at any point did you be his student anywhere in the line of?
Yes, actually, he was my lecturer, and he's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
And I also want to take this opportunity to also congratulate him for ascending to the position of deputy president.
Great.
Because whether there were politics or there were no politics, he is now the deputy president.
So they want to enjoy. He'll have it more.
You might recall one of the papers somewhere.
Yes.
When it comes to service delivery, the only thing that Wanjiku is now looking for is not the title of a professor. Somebody will tell you, maybe nataka unga. So whether you're a doctor, all I need is service. I want to be okay. Service delivery. But do you think at this particular point, the work is cut out, yes, to the dynamic duo, let me call them now, the dynamic duo. What should we expect of him in terms of supporting the president? Because when the president said that there are certain things that he missed in 2 years, that is a heavily loaded statement.
Yes, that is true. And we expect him to be the principal assistant to the president.
The keyword is principal assistant.
Professionally.
Yes.
Not politically. Maybe the former deputy president, maybe was a political principal assistant to help the president ascend to power. But you see now, when the president ascends to power, he needs a professional principal assistant to help him work.
Not an opportunist.
So I think what I expect from my former lecturer, my friend, and the current Deputy President of Kenya, His Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki, is that let him be professional. Actually, he has been put there to represent professionals. If he messes up, he will actually have messed up on behalf of all professionals. So we expect him to be professional, advise the president where necessary, and try not to confront his boss. You know, even if you want to disagree with your boss, you don't do so publicly.
I just, you know, when he says to represent professionals,
yes.
You know, even Gachagua was
a career administrator
who rose through the ranks.
Yes.
So we would not just selectively say that Kindiki will represent professionals. In fact, in politics, there is a very little thing called professionalism. It's about political matter. It's a political office.
It's about interest.
It's about interest. And it must represent Kenyans on political interests. All region must be represented.
Yeah.
So he's not going there to exercise his professionalism. No.
Okay.
I agree with you, but let me speak as a professional. Remember, he's a lawyer like myself. But what I'm saying is that we expect professionalism.
Okay.
You know,
above board.
Above board.
Yeah.
We know the former deputy president was not that professional because, for example, you can't really go to the public and start attacking your boss. You can't do that. You are the principal assistant. Just meet him privately and discuss those matters. So what I expect from Professor Kithure Kindiki as the deputy president is that let him do his work, let him support the president. If you look at what happens in other democracies, like in America, for example, Mheshimiwa Orero, I'm sure we are hearing the much voice of Kamala Harris now that she's campaigning. Before we could not hear her, she was supporting the president. But when she was given a chance to go and campaign, now we have had her.
And who are you supporting? Are you supporting Trump or
let's
Kamala?
leave American politics. Yeah, but as matters Kenya, we expect the president and the deputy president to forget what has happened. Yeah, Kenyans don't care who is the deputy president, they want to be served. Kenyans want to be served.
People want service delivery.
People want service delivery. People are suffering. We are seeing, actually, I don't know, we are seeing introduction of other new tax measures. We don't know whether Gachagua was stopping the president from putting those new tax measures, but all we are saying is that we want the president and the deputy president to serve Kenyans.
Okay. You see, Victor, if you allow me, I think, again, we must be careful not to put in too much premium, as I said, over expectation on the deputy president. Remember that...
where's the danger to that?
The danger is that we will be boxing the president. Because you see, the deputy president is a principal assistant to the president. The person who is driving this car is the president. He is a person who is standing at the apex of all Kenyans. And then the second person is the deputy president. So there would be danger in this over expectation that that things were not working because of Mheshimiwa Gachagua. And then we therefore imagine that now that we have a new deputy president, that things will work. As at the point of the impeachment process, at the law courts, we had a big conversation going on in Washington. And the CS Treasury was actually there, Mheshimiwa Mbadi. And when he came back, he said, Your Excellency, I was very embarrassed because I was surprised that African leaders are lining up along the corridors of World Bank and IMF to queue. And then he said that the money that Kenya wants to queue to borrow from World Bank and IMF, we can actually make it here. So it means, therefore, that if our public servants and state officers can make that deliberate decision to do what the citizens want them to do, we cannot be premiering people like the deputy president. Allow the CS Interior to do his work, allow the CS Finance to do his work, allow the counties to do their work, and build their capacity to get to that level without overemphasizing an office of somebody.
And this is now to the question, in terms of the expectation to the three arms of government. So how should we expect a clear distinction from what we've seen in a couple of 1 month? There's a lot of haste that really, the way at which, the speed at which things moved. So how should we see, Mheshimiwa, starting with National Assembly, the legislature, the executive, and now the, I'm forgetting, the executive, a clear distinction of roles. How should they relate? Should they have collegiality in terms of their service delivery to the Mwananchi? should there be a good coordination between the three arms so that at the end of the day, the person who is going to benefit more is the voter? Let me start with you.
I think you are quite right. There should be a good coordination amongst the three arms of the government. But also, absolutely, we should have independence of those arms of the government. The executive must allow the National Assembly to operate on its own without undue influence and interference. And also, the judiciary should uphold the integrity of the courts and give judgments depending on the submissions.
Yeah.
And also the executive should do their job. But all in all, this is a presidential system of governance, and it requires a lot of coordination. But most importantly, with the county government, because we are having a devolved system, we must allow our county governments also to operate as counties and give them the necessary support so that the mwananchi gets service delivery at the local level. We must decentralize power, both economic power and political power, so that the Kenyans can feel the effectiveness of 2010 Constitution, where we have devolution, a system of governance that operates within a county. We must respect the values of devolution as a government, as a presidential system of governance, and with the devolution aspect in this country. We must agree to channel our the percentages that is required for the devolved government to be effectively utilized at the local level. And this is the coordination that we are talking about, that now the Deputy President must ensure that the local and the national government seamlessly operate and coordinate with each other. So I think this is what we expect. We expect coordination, but at the same time, these three arms of government must be allowed to operate independently without undue influence and interference.
Wafula.
I'll support Mheshimiwa on some levels because, anyway, this new constitution, 2010 constitution, and more especially on devolution, we are not yet there. The devolution could have done more to this country than before. You remember during Mo's time, he could just...
no, he was young, so...
no, he was
maybe
there.
ask him about Kibaki's time.
But at least
Mo's time,
we
he
remember
could just dictate where funds goes. You understand? He could just dictate. But this constitution has given us at least to share, all county to share the national cake. But the problem now stops at the county level, whereby the priorities of their people are not met. The county level, you see, when you go to China, my friend, and leave alone China is far. You go to Uganda, I've gone to Uganda, I've been invited by the king of Toro, the youngest king in Toro, and he could proudly tell you that my county, my kingdom, to them is a county, my kingdom has 28 legs, beautiful one, and you can move and see. We have hotels. We can invest there. You can go there. I went there. They gave me a free waiver. I slept there. It is just a small.
And then you are saying a free wife.
I went there.
Maybe that is what you
No. That's what I went there, and actually it is not a leg. Just something like a dam.
Waited for that W to finish.
No. It was just a small dam, but to them they put it like a big leg, several legs. And now they collect revenues from the tourists. That revenue goes to that kingdom. Yeah. But now in Kenya, Mheshimiwa, you come from Kitui. Yes. Kitui, to me, they are the only people who have done like, they have invested on mango and they process mango and sell. These other counties, they don't do any business to generate their own money. And that is where we should be. You go to China.
But Mheshimiwa, you know that we have over 23 counties that now surpassed their on-source revenue targets.
Now, you see, what I'm talking about is
But it is also absurd that you want to compare our economy with Uganda economy. Kenya's economy is about 8-10 times.
Yes, but they are doing well. I'm telling you, they are doing well.
In terms of what?
In terms of, their kingdom, they are generating money.
Okay.
They are generating money from their resources. And now in Kenya, our counties, few counties, I don't know how many, few can generate their money from the investment.
Executive director of the County Governors Watch.
He will tell me how many counties have put up factories to generate income for themselves, not relying from the national government.
He has all the figures.
Yeah, and I'll tell you.
And also, when we take like an example from China, I've gone there several times. You see these companies, Chinese companies in Kenya doing some construction and whatever, they come from different states, like counties. They generate money for their counties. Now across the board, across the country. Now, Kenya, we should be there. But now, the problem with the counties, our counties, the income they get from national level cannot do much to generate something like a development to their counties. Their revenues actually is very low. They don't have ways of investing the little money they get from national level to generate more, to get money from for their counties. That is the problem we are facing with the counties, actually.
Let me get from the speaker. Let me get from the speaker as well, because he's spoken about the issue with on-source revenue.
Yes.
As we wind up, mukona pesa kwa counties.
Victor, I think Ken Osido here, when we were beginning the show, said it all.
Maybe Mutacho knew that you don't have money in the counties.
Yes.
Probably.
Because many counties, even if we have been there for more than 10 years, many counties have not established proper structures to raise their own revenue.
Yeah.
Most of the counties rely on the money from the national treasury. And this money always delays. And if it comes with so many restrictions. By the time it comes, you have incurred maybe bills, there's a lot of interest to be paid, so it becomes a serious issue. Perhaps what maybe we can do is to put in place proper structures to ensure proper on-source revenue. Because if the national government, and I want to thank the MPs because they've been able to come up with proper laws which help the national government raise revenue, why can't counties do the same thing?
Correct.
Because they are also government. Yes. Yeah, currently in Kitui, as I mentioned earlier, we are working on our own finance bill. So it means every county should come up with structures to raise their own revenue and avoid over-reliance on the national government. Yes.
So Victor, just to add on to that, is that there's a reason why counties have not been able to, or rather most counties have not been able to achieve these targets. And one is interference by the national government. And this interference boils down to the issues of fully devolution of certain functions. Remember that, for instance, there's a mechanism in which on-source revenue could also be accrued from different sectors, like health, you know. And when Mheshimiwa Wakili Speaker talks about National Assembly, I get surprised because he's presiding over a county assembly. And that is where the second issue is, that our county assemblies have not been able to pass appropriate laws on time to be able to boost counties to raise their own source revenues. For example, the valuation rolls law. Counties are operating on a 2016 law. I hope you are aware about that, Speaker. And very few of them, less than 8 counties, rather 8 county assemblies have been able to pass 2023 valuation rolls now to be able to enhance on-source revenue from different tax regimes like land rates, because it is a law that is supposed to enable counties to be able to pick up those laws. So the over-concentration in the national government is weakening county assembly establishments, and that is also boiling down into issues, for instance, like corruption. So that again, we need to have counties exercising automation of of taxation regimes or mechanisms where, for example, you do not have to pay monies in cash.
Yes.
That when you pay parking fees, you don't have to give somebody 50 bob or 100, in the case of Nairobi 300, because that money is of course going to disappear. So for us to be able to support counties, we must push this stress into the county assemblies to pass proper laws and really ask the national government through the State Department for Devolution to work together with the county governments to fully devolve these functions. Lastly, Victor, for example, you look at housing, affordable housing is devolved. Health is fully devolved with, of course, national government given the Ministry of Health the functions of policy. But you still see certain aspects of national government interfering with counties, for example, on what is called the county aggregation industrial parks. Why do we have a whole national government ministry going to the counties to meddle into aggregation parks? Because when we do those aggregation parks, then issues of value addition, like Mheshimiwa Wafula is saying, where Kitui is doing value addition for mango, you go to Kisii and there is plenty of soapstone. The counties can be able to even provide markets abroad where
I have a question.
Networks put together these aggregated products and then they are exported.
We all need to have one friend in our lives, gentlemen. We need Speaker. The mango season is all here, and we need to be very good friends with him. We need to be very good friends with him.
Victor, don't forget also this is my
kingdom.
Don't forget also this my harvesting season in Trans Nzoia, ugali, and every time we eat ugali. Yeah. But anyway, what we want in Trans Nzoia, like in Trans Nzoia, we will not be selling maize to you people. We want to be selling unga directly from Trans Nzoia.
Before we end this conversation,
we are out of time.
Before we end this conversation, I want to ask and make a plea on behalf of all the county assemblies in Kenya.
Okay.
If we really want county governments to work, then the county assemblies should and must be empowered. But what we are seeing currently is that county assemblies are at the mercy of the county executives. MPs should rush and give us our autonomy. The national government should empower county assemblies because we are the only people who can help in ensuring that there is value for money in the money which the national government takes to the counties.
Thank you so much.
On my behalf, say hi to the Kibra people.
What's the bedroom?
On my behalf, say hello to the people of
There's a question I was supposed to...
Also, on behalf, I just want to say hi to Fort Kenya members. You know,
on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have Dr. Wafula Mutachu, who is the chairman of Fort Kenya, Trans Nzoia County, as well as Speaker of the County Assembly of Kitui, Kevin Katisa, who is also an advocate of the High Court and Executive Director of the County Governor's Watch, Kevin Osido. Gentlemen, thank you so much. But let me leave you with one quote from Winston Churchill. He said, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time." My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.